Welcome back everyone. This is part 2 of the Figma to React Native Food App UI series. In this second part of the series, we're going to be starting with the home page on Figma to convert it to React Native. So if this is your first time on the channel, I'm Matt and this is Made with Matt. Through these videos, I hope to help you learn the basics of designing and building beautiful mobile app UIs. So let's just jump right into it here. I have VS Code open on my app.js. And as you can see, I've cleared out everything that we had in there to just write with a text component, welcome to my food app. Now, if you haven't seen the previous video, I'll link it down below. And that's where we set up this application and set up the colors, fonts for the app. So let's get started. In the description below, you'll find the link to this Figma file. To download it, you can click the link. You need to log in with a Figma account or create an account. And at the top here, you'll see an export button. It might be in a dropdown. Once you export it, it'll download as a .fig, short for Figma. You can upload that back to your own Figma account and you'll have access to it like I have here, where you can move things around, you can play around with it, and you could download everything. So the first thing we'll need to download are these images. So let's select all of them and we'll take even the ones that we'll need for the details page in the next video, just so it's done. Export as PNG, export 11 layers. Perfect. Download that. And here we see that we have all our images. So we'll add all these images to our React Native project. And to do that, we'll open up the assets folder and create a new folder in here called images. Now we'll just drag and drop all our images into this folder. We've got all our images here and we're good to go. So now the next step is we can see that each one of these lists here, so this is one list, this is another list, has some data in it. And the easiest way to actually get these to render is we create some data files with basic data such as the image, the title, here the weight, and we iterate through these data files in our code. So let's do that right now. Go to assets once again, create a new folder called data. And in here, we'll create two files. One of them is going to be called categories data.js. And the second one is going to be called popular data.js. And that's just for these two sections. Let's begin with the categories data. So we see that it has an image, it has a title, and it also has a different color depending on if it's selected or not. So let's get started. We'll go to categories data.js, const categories data. We're just gonna hold our data. It's gonna be an array with objects in it. Each object is going to have its own ID, which actually we can make this a number. Perfect. An image, require, this one's going to be the pizza image. A title, this title is pizza, and if it's selected or not. So we could have that as a Boolean. And we're just gonna repeat that for the next two cards. Now that we've got that done, we can't forget to export the categories data so that we can use it in the rest of our app. Next, we'll do the same thing for the popular section. So in the popular data, we know that we also have an image, we have a title here, the weight, and a rating. So let's do that. Jump to popular data.js and we'll do the exact same structure, an array of objects, ID of 1, image, this one's going to be the pizza, or one of the pizzas. Images, it's going to be pizza 1.png. Title is going to be, let's call this one Primavera Pizza. The weight is going to be 540 params, and the rating will be 5 stars. So we'll give it 5.0. And we'll repeat this for the next 2 objects as well. And just like the other one, we need to make sure to export it. Export default popular data. And now both our data files are good to go and ready to use in our app. The next step now is to get set up with navigation. Since we have 2 pages, we're going to need to be able to jump back and forth from the pages. And the easiest way to do that is to use React Native Navigation. Look it up on Google. It's going to be the first link, reactnavigation.org. Go here, read the docs, and right away it tells us exactly what we need to do. So let's copy and paste this and install that. Next, let's keep going down the list. Installing dependencies into a bare React Native project. That's what we need, not the Expo Manage one. So let's copy this. We can jump back to the documentation. If you're on Mac and developing for iOS, yep, that's me. Let's copy this and run it. That's done. Jump back here. To finalize installation, add the following at the top of app.js. So let's copy that. Go to app.js and paste that at the top. Good. And we're getting an error. One of the possible reasons for this is that we need to rebuild the app. So npm run iOS or Android, depending what you're using. And that solves our problem. So let's keep going. Wrap the whole app in a navigation container. So let's just copy this entire thing, replace our app.js with it, save that, and let's add back in our text. Welcome to my food app. Can't forget to import text from React Native. And we can see it up here, so it's working. We'll move back to the documentation, click the next page, and this is what we're going to need, the stack navigator. So let's copy that. We'll jump back to the documentation, and here we'll grab all of this inside the navigation container, replace our navigation container with it. We'll grab this stack constant. And because we're using the create stack navigator, we're also going to need to import that. Save that. And we'll get an error here because we haven't set up the home screen component, which this stack screen is looking for. So let's do that right now. We'll go to the root folder, so food app UI, create a new folder called components. In here, we'll create a new file or a new page called home.js. We'll create a simple text view where we'll say homepage. So let's just copy some basic React Native stuff that we need for the page. Const home equals, close bracket, arrow function, return. And in here, we'll just have text home page. And let's make sure to export default home. Save that, jump back to app.js, and here we'll need to import it. So import home from components, home.js. And rather than having home screen as our component here, we'll just have home. Now we can see that we have our home page that we're able to access thanks to React Navigation. Now we see that here we have a header that's pre-built by React Navigation, but in our design, we have our own custom header. So what we'll do is we'll add some options here for configuration, and we're just gonna remove the header. So header shown to false. Save that, and there you go, now it's gone. Now we're good to go. We're ready to actually start building the homepage now that all the navigation's done. So let's jump into home.js. And a couple things that we'll need to import before we start are some icons, because we know we're going to need to use those. So let's do those right away. So we're going to import the feather icons from React native vector icons / feather. And we're also going to import the material community icons from React native vector icons, material community icons. And you could find all those icons here, React native vector icons. You could find all of them here. And the ones we'll be using are, let's go find it. So feather and the material community icons. We also know that we're going to need our data. So the data for this list and this list. So to do that, let's just import it. First thing we'll start with is the header. So as we could see, this is its own component that we'll build right now. And it's just two things, a profile image and an icon. So let's do that. Return, let's add a view in here, which is gonna be the parent view that's gonna hold everything. So we'll add that as style is equal to styles.container. And here, instead of writing styles, I wrote style sheet because we need to import that from React Native and create the style sheet. So let's go here, const styles is equal to style sheet.create. And now we can use that. So instead of style sheet here, we'll have styles and it should work now. Perfect. Inside of this container, we're gonna have a SafeAreaView, and we'll import that from React Native. In there, we'll have another view and an image, and lastly, an icon. So I'll just put a comment here for icon for now. This view is going to have a style of styles.header wrapper. This image will have the style of profile image. And we'll deal with the icon after. So let's just add a comment here to let us know that this is the header. This error came up because it can't find the variable view. So we'll just add that in here for import from React Native. Save that again. Can't find image, same issue. Save that. And we're good. And obviously right now nothing's actually rendering, but let's get something in here. So let's put in the image. So source for the image is going to be require. It's going to be from the assets folder, assets, images, and this will be the profile.png. Save that, and there we go, we have our image. And now for our icon, we'll add a feather icon, which will be the menu icon, so name of menu, a size of, this will be 24, and we'll make sure that the color is text dark. And I'm just realizing that we didn't actually import the colors, so let's do that right now. Import colors from assets, colors, and colors. Perfect, and we can delete the auto import there. Save that, and we need to close the component. Now this is a common error with React Native vector icons. It's a really simple fix. All you have to do is you write feather.load font, and that's it. Now it works. Reload the app and we'll see the icon. We've got our image and our icon just like we need here, but now we need to style it. So let's jump into here. We'll start with the container. So the container it basically wraps the entire app. So we just want to give it a flex of 1 so it takes up the entire screen. Now the header wrapper, this one is going to have a flex direction of row so that they're aligned like that. There's going to be justified content space between so that they go to opposite ends. And we're also going to have a horizontal padding of 20, as we see here. Next, we'll do our profile image. And from here, we can see that the image has a height and width of 40. 40, and it also has a border radius to make it a circle. We'll give it border radius of 40. There we go. Also going to add a bit of top padding in here, padding top, and we'll give it a top padding of 20. Let's see how that looks. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong section. We need to do that on the header wrapper. And last thing to do on the header, we can see that these two are not exactly aligned. So what we'll add is align items to center. And just like that, we've already finished our header. Next section that we're going to need to work on are these titles. So let's jump out of the safe area view. We'll add a comment here, say titles. And here we'll create a new view with 2 text items inside. The first one's going to say food, and the second will say delivery. We'll add some titles to it. So to this view, we'll add style is equal to styles.title wrapper. This one will add styles.title subtitle, since it's the smaller title. And the delivery will have title. And this should actually be titles wrapper. Titles. Perfect. Let's copy all of those. And I'm holding the Option key to be able to do multiple copies at once. Paste that in, holding down Option. Let's get started with the actual wrapper. So from the design, we know that it's a margin of 30 from the top. So let's add that in. Margin top is 30. We also know that just like the header, there's a horizontal padding of 20. For the subtitle, we know that the font family from our design is Montserrat Regular. Let's add that in. Montserrat Regular, and the font size is 16. We also know that the color is colors text dark. The title is going to be pretty similar, so we could copy and paste that. But the title is going to be bolded and size 32. And also have text dark. Add a bit of margin on the top for the title. So let's add that, margin top 5. The title section is done. Now we get to move on to the search. So search, we have an icon with a search box that's underlined. So let's code that. Right under the titles view, we'll add another comment called search. Here we'll add a view. Inside the view, we'll have another icon. In this case, it's going to be the search icon with a size of 16 and a color of colors.text dark. Again, close that icon, and we'll have another view in here to hold the text. That's going to say search. So let's add some styles to it. It's going to be the search wrapper. The feather icon doesn't need any styles. It's good to go. This one is going to be the just search and the search text. Let's copy all of those, bring them down into our styles, paste them all. Let's close this terminal. Hold down the Option key. Perfect. Much like the header, these two items need to be lined up in a row with each other. So let's do that here. Flex direction, row, and right off the bat, we'll align items in the center so that they're aligned. Cool. We're also going to want to add padding horizontal again of 20, and we'll check the distance from the top. It's 30, so a margin from the top of 30. We're gonna give it a flex of 1, so it extends all the way till the end here. A margin left, I believe it's 10. Let's check in the actual design. 12 here, but what about for the line? Yep, 10. We will also give it a border bottom color of text light, and that's gonna create this little line. Let me see here. And lastly, give the border bottom some width so that we actually see it. There we go. The last part of the search component, here we need to add some style to this search text. So let's do that. Font family, once again, is going to be Montserrat, and this one's going to be semi-bold with a size of 14. The margin from the bottom, I think we're gonna need to add a bit. Let's try without, save that. Yeah, we see that it's a bit too tight. It should have margin bottom of 5. And the color is going to be text light. The search component is done. So let's move on to the categories. Scroll back up. Under search, we'll create a new comment here called categories. And in here, we'll create a view with a text component in it that says categories. Underneath it, we'll have another view, which is going to hold a flat list. Now the flat list is what's going auto import from React Native. Yep. So a flat list is what's going to give this the ability to be scrollable. Here we could see that it's kind of leading off the edge of the design, which implies that we can scroll it horizontally. Leave that. Good. Obviously, we're going to add some things in here, but for now, let's just style what we've got here so far. So let's style this wrapper. Let's call this categories wrapper. This text will be categories title. The view underneath it will be categories list wrapper. So it's going to hold the list. And let's copy all of those and bring them down here. So the categories wrapper, we know that it's 30 from the top. Let's add that. So margin top is 30. And I think that's all we're going to need to add to it, since for the title, we'll add the font family. This one is bold and 16. And it's also going to have a horizontal padding of 20. Save that. Nice. Now the categories list wrapper will actually add style to that once we get the card components on it, on the flat list. So we'll leave that one blank. For the flat list, if we scroll back up right here, we can actually go to the documentation to see what exactly the flat list needs and does. So we can look at the example. Here we can see that it takes in some data, a item to render, which is a component, Where's the component? Right here. And a key extractor. So let's copy all three of these, bring them over to our code. So that's data, render item, key extractor. And in our case, the data is going to be the category data that we had created and imported already. So let's add that. The render item is going to be render category item. And this we could leave as is. The next thing is we need to add horizontal is equal to true, just to tell the code that rather than having a vertical scroll list or flat list, we want a horizontal one. We get the error that we can't find the variable render category item. So let's go up and create that. We'll create that in our home component, const render category item. It'll take in an item and return. For now, we'll just add a view with a text saying hello. If you save that, you can see that we have our since we have 3 items in our categories data, it renders 3 hellos. Let's go check out what we'll need in our design. So we'll need an image, we'll need a title, and a view here that's gonna be a circle with the. So let's start coding that. So the view we can leave there. Inside the view, we'll have the image. We'll have some text. We'll have another view, which will be this circle here. And within that view, we'll have a feather icon. So there it is. We shouldn't actually be able to see anything yet. So let's add some information. So here, the image is going to be from the item. We have the image URL. So let's make sure that here, instead of item, we actually open it up. And then the source is going to be the item.image. Save that. There we go. We get our 3 images. The text is going to be item.title. The icon is going to be chevron right, which is that little check mark or whatever you want to call it, icon. The size of it will be something like 8. Yep, 8. And the color we'll deal with after. So let's save that. Let's add some style to everything to make it look good. So this one's going to be category item wrapper. This image is going to be category item image. The text is going to have category item title. This view is going to be category select wrapper. Icon category, select icon. Let's save that, and now let's copy all of them. Let's open up the brackets to be able to add some styles. The name I gave this style image, it's way too generic. So let's go back up, let's go find it. Image here, let's call that instead category item image. It's way more clear as to what it is. Now let's replace it. We'll start with the category list wrapper. So we know that it needs to be from the top 15. So let's add that. Padding top of 15, and we're probably going to need some. On the bottom as well. Let's add 20. And basically, if we don't add this padding and we add margin instead, we're not going to be able to see this drop shadow that we have, the effect on it, because it's just going to get cut off. So you need to add a bit of buffer space in the middle. So padding bottom is going to be 20. Save that. Nice. So now the item wrapper. So for each item, let's just add a background color so that we can see them properly when we're building them out. And we'll just add this for now, just as a and next thing, we see that they're separated by 20, so let's add some right margin of 20. Now we could clearly see the separations of all of them. And it seems like we're missing the image. So let's jump back up. And in here, source, category, item image. That's wrong, that should just be image. Save that, there we go, reappears. So that looks good in terms of the card. We could see that we need it to be rounded, the border radius of 20, so let's do that right now. Border radius of 20. The styling looks all pretty messed up, but it's gonna start looking better as we edit all of these. So let's start with the image. The image, from here we know that it has a width and height of 60. We also know that from the top, we want it to have a spacing of 24. So margin top 24. And let's make sure it's properly aligned, just in case. We can see that the soft drink and the seafood don't really look aligned. So center, there it is. We're also going to want to add a horizontal margin of, let's just call it 20, horizontal of 20. For the category item title, we'll align it in the center, so that already looks better. Good. Now let's change the font. This is Montserrat semi-bold. With a size of 14. Save that. And we also know that it has a top margin here of 10. Nice. Kind of seems like it's a bit too dark. I'm gonna go with medium here. That looks a bit more accurate, so I'll leave it like that. Next part to do is this circle here. So that's going to be the category select wrapper, and first off we'll align it in the center so that it doesn't look off axis. Nice. And also justify the content in the center so it's actually centered within its, everything in this little wrapper is centered. Now we know that there needs to be some spacing up here, which we can find by doing that. So 20. The width of this circle is 26 by 26. So width and height are both 26. And it's also a circle, so the border radius is also going to be 26. From the bottom, here it's kind of stuck, but we see that it's 20. So we'll add some bottom margin of 20, and we'll move on to the icon. The icon itself just needs to be aligned. Oops. Align self center. That puts it right in the middle. And the different colors will do that above. Basically, colors depend on if it's the first item in the list or not. So we'll scroll back up here. We need to add a couple things. So first off, on this view, this is the one that we set to yellow. We're gonna make this styles an array so that we could add some other styles in here. So we'll open up squiggly bracket and change the background color. So if the items is selected, which if you remember correctly, here we have selected as true, here we have it as false. So if the item is selected, then we want it to be yellow. So that's colors.primary. If it's not selected, then we want it to be white. Save that. There you go. The next thing as well is here it's stuck to the left, whereas we should actually have a margin of 20, but the margin of 20 we should only actually do it to the first item, because otherwise there's going to be margin of 20 here plus the extra 20 that we're adding right now. So let's do that. So margin left. So if the item ID is 1, then 20, otherwise it's 0. Save that, and there you go. The little circle here. So that's going to be in this style right above the feather icon. Let's make this one an array as well. The background color, if the item is selected, it's going to be white. Oops, this should be a question mark. And otherwise it's going to be our secondary color. The last thing to add some conditional style to is the color of this icon. So if the item is selected, then we know that we want it to be black. And if the color is not selected, then we want it to be white. And this colors.black, colors.white, I added them into the colors file at the bottom here as FFF and 000. That's it for the categories. That's done. And now we could move on to the popular section. So let's create a new comment here, popular section. And let's see what this one's all about. So this one has a title similar to categories and then a bunch of cards. So we've already made the data for it. So we could just iterate through this data, and for each item in popular data, we'll create a card with all the information similar to what we did for this flat list. But instead of using a list, we'll make it so that the entire page is scrollable, because otherwise, if you were only able to scroll down here, it'll be some pretty bad user experience. So let's do that. You can start with a view that's gonna have a style of popular wrapper to hold everything. In here we'll have some text that says popular. This one's going to have a style of popular title. And once we've done that, this is where it gets interesting. We'll have popular data.map, which is going to iterate through each item. And for each item, it's going to render, say, a view with text hello. Save that. And here it's not rendering. So why isn't it rendering? Oh, that's because we used these brackets instead of just regular brackets. So let me change that. And this one here, save that. Now we see hello, hello, hello. So before we start dealing with the stuff going on here, let's just add our styles to the title and wrapper. Much like everything else, we know that it needs to have a horizontal padding of 20. There we go. And the title is bolded and size 16. So font family, fonts are at bold, font size 16. Scroll back up to this popular data.map. And this is where it gets a bit more complicated just because there's a lot going on in this card, but we'll get through it. It's not that complicated. It's kind of simple once you understand it. So let's do it. So this top view, we'll give it a style of popular card wrapper. So that's for the individual card. We'll delete this. First thing we'll need is a view to hold these items here. So let's add a view within here. Seems like it's not adding. We're gonna have to do it manually. Okay. In here, we'll have one more view to hold these. And one more view. And this will all make a bit more sense once we have more things on the screen. Basically, this is gonna wrap this section here, and then this wrapper is gonna wrap all of these together, and then we're gonna have another wrapper which wraps all of this together, and then one last one that just has the image. So in here, we know that we have the icon and top of the week. So this one, we're gonna use the material community icons. Since Feather doesn't have the crown, I'm gonna give it a size of 12 and a color of colors.primary. Don't forget to close it. Now we get a similar error from before, unrecognized font family. Do the exact same thing that you had done with Feather, but just with material community icons, and reload the app. There they are. Scroll back down. Underneath all the icons we'll have, next to the icons we'll have top of the week. And we could start adding some styles to this. So this is going to have a style of styles.popular top wrapper. It's the top section. The icon doesn't need any style, and then this is going to be styles.popular top title, or it's called text. Let's work on those first. Is there anything else? That's it. Bring those to the bottom. In the wrapper, we know that the flex direction should be row, so that they're aligned. Nice. And we'll also need to align items in the center. There we go. And then for the text is going to have a left margin. It's going to be of 10. It's also going to have a font family of Montserrat semi-bold, size 14. Font size of 14. Let's also go get our popular card wrapper style. Put that right above popular top wrapper. So it's going to have a background of colors.white, a border radius 25, a top padding of, it's the first one, so that one's different. This one's 20. So padding top of 20. On the left side, we'll need padding of 20 as well. Save that. Good. And since this is going to be one view in and of itself, obviously with some subviews, and this is going to be a second view, we want the flex direction to be row so that they're next to each other. So let's do that right now. Flex direction row. Oops. There we go. We'll add some spacing between them here. We could see that it's either 20 if it's not the first one, but if it is the first one, then it's something like, we'll add 10. So we'll go back up and do conditional styles like we did earlier. And for this one, we'll look for popular card wrapper here. Make this one an array and add margin top. So if the item ID is 1, then we want 10, otherwise we want 20. So that looks good. We're gonna go under this view now. So popular styles wrapper. Perfect, yeah, we'll go underneath it and add another view here. This one will give it a style of popular titles wrapper. And this is the one that's going to contain these two titles here. So that's going to be text item.title and also text with the weight. Let's give them some styles. So this one's going to be styles dot popular titles title, and this one's going to be popular titles weight. Save that. Let's copy all of them and paste them down below. From the top here of Primavera Pizza, we could see that there should be some margin. So we'll add a margin of 20. Margin top of 20. And for the titles, this one is Montserrat semi-bold 14. Font family, Montserrat semi-bold. Font size of 14. And we can't forget the color. Colors.text dark. And the same applies for the bottom one here, just that it's going to be medium, size 12, and light. Also here, there should be a small separation between the two of 5, so that's margin top of 5. Next, we'll move on to this section right here. So to get that one done, let's scroll back up to where we had our weight. We'll go 1, 2, and we'll create another view here. So that's, if we start at weight, we go text, view, view, and that's where we create the new view. And the view here is going to have a style of popular card bottom, another view inside, this view is going to be used to have the add pizza button. So let's call it that, styles.add pizza button. And in here, we'll add a feather icon, which will be the plus sign. The size will be 10. And the color will be the text dark. Save that, and we can see our button here. Within this view, we're also going to have the stars. So let's create another view right here to hold them. This one's going to have a style of rating wrapper. And here we'll use the material icons, material community icons to get the star with a size as well of 10 and a color of, colors.text dark. Next to it, we're also going to need to have this 5-star. So let's add text with the item's rating. And let's add a style to this one of styles dot, and let's just call it rating. So let's copy all of these. Paste them at the bottom. we can start building it out. So popular card bottom, that's the bottom row here. We know that needs to be flex direction of row. Let's do that, and there we go, it's already lined up. As well, we'll want to align the items in the center because there we go, it's always good to do. The margin from the top here is 10, it's going to be 10. And let's move on to the add pizza button. So that's this here. So the background for this will be colors.primary to get it yellow. We're also going to need to add some padding to make it fit nicely. So let's add padding of 40. And it's kind of more of a rectangle here. So let's add 20 on top and then 40 on the sides. So we said 40 on the side, so it'd be padding horizontal would be 40, and then padding vertical would be 20. Save that. Okay, so it's starting to take shape. Now it's only 2 of the borders that are actually rounded. So it's the top right and bottom left. So let's code that border top right radius. It's going to be 25, and then border bottom left radius. It's going to be 25. Save that. There we go. And now to fill in this gap here, what we can do is we go back up here to popular card bottom, and we set the margin left to -20, and that's going to shift it over, and now it's perfectly in position as we want it. So let's move down to the rating wrapper. This one's also going to have a flex direction of row. It's going to be aligned in the center. Save that, see how it looks, nice. And we're also going to want some margin left of, let's check it out, 20. Save that, there we go. Now this we shouldn't have copied, that's my mistake. So the rating is going to have a font family of Montserrat semi-bold. A font size of 12, and a color of colors.text dark. Now we're also going to want to space it, so margin left of 5. That looks pretty good. We've got the whole left side done. Now what we're going to need to do is add in this picture here and shift it over to the right. So let's go back up. And we'll start from this text for the rating. We'll go down one view, down another view, and down one more view, and we'll hit enter here. And this is where we'll add the other view for the image. So let's type that in. And here we'll throw in the image with the source of item.image. Let's see how that looks. Now it's way too big and we see that it's not getting cut off. So let's add some style to everything. So style, styles.popular card right. And for the image, we'll add some style as well. This one's going to be styles.popular card image. Let's copy both of them. Start with the image. So we know that the width is 210, height is 125. Save that. So already it's looking a bit better. We also see that, oh, we can't scroll yet, but some of them are bigger than others. Like this one looks bigger than that one. So what we'll do is we'll resize it. So resize mode, contain. Just like that. There we go. Now they're the same size. And we want to shift it over. We can see that it's too close here and we want it to be getting cut off. So we could do that in the popular card right. We could shift the whole view over by 40. Let's try that. Let's see if 40 looks good. That looks good. So now we're gonna need to go to the popular card wrapper, which was the entire card's wrapper. So let's click Command F, popular card wrapper. Let's go find the style. And in here, what we're gonna need to add is overflow. So if anything overflows from this view, we want it to be hidden. Save that. And now you can see that it gets cut off. Let's get this to be scrollable now so that we can actually see the third item in the list. To do that, scroll back up to the top. Right above your comment that says header and under the view that has container, we're going to add a scroll view. So make sure it's an auto import from React Native. Scroll view, and we'll want to, we can actually just, I'll show you what it does now, or sorry, this should be like that. And then we copy the closing bracket, go all the way to the bottom and paste it right there. Save that. Now we can see that it scrolls, but as you can see, there's a bit of a jump at the top and there's this, which we don't want. So some things we could add: content inset adjustment behavior. That's gonna be automatic and that's gonna fix the bounce. So there you go. Let's reload that. There you go. And if we add shows vertical scroll bar as false, now that scroll bar is gone. So it's looking good. There's a couple touch-ups that we need to do, but overall, we've rebuilt this homepage. Before finishing off, we could see that these cards have some shadowing and so do these, but our cards don't have that yet. So to add this shadowing, search for category item wrapper right here, which is these cards. And we're gonna add a shadow color of colors.black. We'll add a shadow offset, which is gonna be an object, width of 0, height of 2. Next, we'll add a shadow opacity of 0.05, shadow radius of 10, and an elevation of 2. Save that to see how it looks, and we could see that there's some drop shadow behind it. Now we'll do the same thing for these cards here. So let's copy that. Search for popular card wrapper. Paste it. Save it. And we can see that there's some drop shadow there. So we've completed the transfer from Figma design to React Native for the home page. You can see that this horizontally scrolls, this scrolls up and down. And the next step for this series will be to build out this details page. It's going to be coming out within the next week. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment, and definitely subscribe for more, as I'm going to be posting a bunch more of this stuff. I enjoy doing this. I love helping people out to learn React Native, and especially to be able to see really nice designs and code them. So thanks for watching, and see you soon.